What's up, all my power ass crew? Today we're testing brake fluid in my Tahoe and my Jeep with the Tesmen TBF-200. Pretty handy little tool, honestly. Let's go. Defaults to .3. Well, I use .4 fluid. So come down here, the little S button, push it. Now we got .4. Yeah, I know, you see it there on the probe right there that I've already done this a time or two. I had to go get another camera. So see the two little metal prongs right there? Dip them in the fluid. That ain't good. Yeah, we got like blinking red is hitting 4 and going into OL is 3.9. Yeah, that really surprises me, to be honest with you. Okay, let's see what the front looks like. Pull it out, wipe, tap off the probe, dip it in this one. You just need to put the metal in there, that's all you need to do. Wow, 3.8. Did not realize that. And yeah, I know I got brake fluid on it right there, but hey, it's an old beater rig. Now, as I said a moment ago, when you turn it on, it defaults to .3. You need to change your dot, go .4 and .5.1, and turn it off. Honestly, that kind of surprises me that my brake fluid is not good in this thing. It ain't been too awfully long ago that I put the front axle underneath this thing, and of course the rear axle is the 8.8. I mean, it's been a few years now or something like that. I guess I gotta look back at the video, see how long it's been since I put that front axle under this. Brake fluid is one of those things that people tend to forget about. I mean, like changing your oil, people do it every 3,000 miles or whatever your duration is. Brake fluid is just one of those things people are like, okay, let me top it off a little bit. Obviously mine needs it. And people don't think nothing about changing it out, but it's very, very important to do that. And obviously shows that I've neglected. Let's check the Tahoe. As far as the Tahoe is concerned, I really have no idea what shape the brake fluid is going to be in. I do change oil in it. I've had it a little over a year and a half. So I do obviously change the oil in it, check the transmission fluid, stuff like that. I've checked the level of the brake fluid to make sure it's okay, but I've never checked the condition of the brake fluid. So here we go. Pretty simple. Just get the top, screw it off. And right here it says .3. So we're gonna make sure our meter is set on .3. Turn it on, like I said. Turn it on, as I said, it defaults to .3. See where there's my fluid. Dip it in there. So it's at a 2.8, 2.7. Much better shape than the Jeep's in. Wow. And on my Tahoe, I'll make sure I got the leads out here where it was dripping so it wouldn't drip on the paint. So apparently the Tahoe needs the brake fluid done on it as well. And so, of course, like I said, I had no idea what the condition would be on it. I'm the third owner of the Tahoe, and I do know that the person I bought it from, her father-in-law, I think it was, bought the truck new. And he worked for Valvoline in some kind of high-end fashion or whatever, so he religiously kept the oils and fluids and everything in that Tahoe religiously changed. And I can vouch for that, because whenever I changed oil in this rig has got 330 something thousand miles on it, that oil looked like it had just been poured into it. I mean, that engine is so clean. So therefore I really have no idea when the brake fluid was serviced on it, but obviously it needs it. The Jeep, that, like I said, it totally surprises me, because this Dana 30 front, it ain't been too often long ago that I put that in there, but you can see by my master cylinder, it probably wasn't sealing properly, being that I've got, my fluid levels are low. And I'll show you something else. Notice right through here, right there, I've got some crusty stuff on top of the master cylinder. Whenever you see that, that will give way to water being seeped into your master cylinder. So I need to clean this master cylinder, or this lip right through here, suck all this old fluid out, and do a fluid change on this. So there you go, folks. The Jeep is in dire need of brake fluid change, and the Tahoe could definitely use it itself. It's still within the safe range, so to speak, but yeah, this thing right here, I pull my trailer with it quite a bit, and eventually I'm gonna have my Jeep up on the trailer, so I want to make sure my brakes are in tip-top shape. So with that being said, yep, it's gonna get it as well. So here's the question: you guys want to see how to do a brake fluid change out on the Jeep? If you do, tell me down in the comments. The Tahoe, do it as well. Of course, separate videos. And not only will I show you how to do a brake fluid change, I'm gonna show you how to do it by yourself. So I know oftentimes when you do the bleeding brakes on these rigs, or even on Tahoe for instance, you get, ooh, that's one of those mean yellow jackets. I might have a nest under my bumper. Squirrel. Now some of you out there are thinking, man, I gotta get somebody to help me bleed my brakes, you know. Maybe get your significant other or get a friend or a next door neighbor or something like that to be pushing the pedal while you're pumping the fluid through it. No. I'm gonna show you guys how to do it by yourself. It's not hard, it's not expensive, and it saves you a lot of time. Now I do have one video where I showed how to bleed the brakes all by yourself, and it just involved using a Gatorade bottle. And so I can link that up, but I've got another trick for you showing you how to bleed those brakes all by yourself. It's super easy. My Jeep is a 5-speed, which means it's got a clutch. These Jeeps have hydraulic clutches, and it uses brake fluid for the hydraulic clutch. Let's check the fluid in it, see what it's like. Now down in the comments, y'all gonna be spazzing out. You gotta top off your fluid. Yes, I'm gonna top it off, don't worry about it. But I'm still gonna change all this out. So get back here is where your clutch master cylinder is. Unscrew the top. And there's your cap, set it to the side. Pull out your little plug thingy. Shake it off a little bit so you don't drip fluid all over your paint. On my rig, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference, but you might have a nice Jeep. But you want to know what my philosophy is? Check this out. Right there, baby. Pretty paint causes stress. I drive my Jeep to have a good time. I couldn't care less about the paint because I'm not going to put a bunch of money into paint just to scratch it up. Nah. So now we get our little tester back here and see if I can. And also notice the arm on this thing. You can bend it and shape it, all kinds of cool things. So I'm going to put a little bit more curve to it, like this. And so I can get in here, turn it on, and I'm going to set that to .4 because that's what I always use. Dip it into the master cylinder. Oh no! Dude! Well, kind of looks like my brake fluid is dude, that's one of those mean yellow hornet thingies that'll tear your booty up. Then they'll call all their friends in to get you some more. Well, apparently there's going to be another upcoming video, how to change the fluid in your master cylinder, because it needs it. Now that I've confirmed I have to change brake fluid in the Jeep, I thought, hey, this bottle of brake fluid I got is the brake fluid I used when I put that front axle under it. Which means all this time the bottle has been sitting open like this right here, not like the lid's been on it. But I'm just saying the seal has been broken. If you don't have a completely perfect seal, brake fluid is hydroscopic, which means it will absorb water. Which made me start thinking, wait a minute, if it's been sitting on my shelf in there for that long, with that seal broken, has it taken on water? Let's find out. Now, as I said a moment ago, this is .4 synthetic. And turn my little meter on. Defaults to .3. Push a button once, we're on .4. Put it in here. Then we dip our prongs into the fluid. Interesting. Look right there. We're 2.5, 2.3% water. Interesting. Which means brake fluid just sitting on the shelf will absorb water to the point that makes it on a borderline as to whether it should be used or not. Got one more thing I want to test. So now I've got a different sample here. This is an even older bottle of .3 synthetic brake fluid. Okay, so we're still sitting on .4, push the button once, .5, push the button again, .3. And that's at 2.6 roughly. It was fluctuating a moment ago, so 2.6. So that alone confirms that putting brake fluid just on the shelf that absorbs water to the point that it gets borderline as to whether it should be used or not. Now, when I go to change the brake fluid in the Tahoe and the Jeep, I'm not using either one of these bottles right here, because think about it. If it's already on the borderline of where it should be changed, why would I want to do that? And within probably a few months from now, it may absorb even more water and be already back to where I'm at, square one where I'm at now. So, which means I'll just go buy me a brand new bottle of brake fluid when I get ready to take care of business. Oh, another cool feature about this thing, if you're forgetful like me and forget to turn it off, after 5 minutes it'll power itself off to conserve battery life. But, push the button, turn it off. So all this talk about being hydroscopic, 2%, 4% absorption of water, blah, 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 blah. What does all that mean? That's so confusing. So as soon as you crack open that silver seal right there, the brake fluid then begins to absorb moisture from the atmosphere. Yes, you put the lid on it. Yes, you put it on it good and tight, but you have now broken that silver seal, so it will still catch a little bit of atmospheric moisture into the fluid itself. As you've seen by me testing those bottles I had laying on the shelf in there. Interesting. By industry standard, what I found out is wet is determined once the fluid has absorbed 3.7% water from the atmosphere. Which kind of makes sense if you think about how that meter read from 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, and after 4% it went to OL, means over limit. Hence, the Jeep here is now way over limit. Now, another thing I found very interesting is that brake fluid will absorb water at 2% per year. So for every 1 year you've got that bottle sitting on your shelf in the shop, it's absorbing water the whole time. And by the time you get 1 year into it, that bottle is already on is borderline as to whether it should be used or not. Whenever you step on your brakes and those brake pads are squeezing on the rotor, it's generating all that heat gets transferred to the calipers, therefore heating up the fluid inside the calipers. So if you've got water inside that caliper along with the brake fluid, we've got a problem. So what's the problem? Water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees Celsius. So whenever water boils, what happens? Water is a liquid state. Once it hits at 212 degrees and up, that liquid state turns into steam. Steam is a vapor. Vapor is a gas. So what's the big deal? Liquid is not compressible. Gas is. And that's actually a very important and also dangerous issue. So we'll touch on that a little bit more in a moment. Now let's talk about the boiling points of brake fluid, then we'll go back to the whole water situation. You got .3 brake fluid, you got .4 brake fluid, and you got .5 or 5.1, depending on what literature you're looking at. The brake fluid's boiling point is measured two different ways. You've got a dry temperature and you've got a wet temperature. Now the boiling point of .3 brake fluid is 401 degrees Fahrenheit or 205 degrees Celsius. Now remember that dry measurement is a brand new fresh bottle that's never been opened. Now the boiling point of .3 brake fluid wet measurement is 284 degrees Fahrenheit or 140 degrees Celsius. Now as I mentioned earlier, as we go through the different dots of the brake fluid, .3, .4, .5, so on, the higher the dot, the higher the boiling point. So the dry boiling point for .4 brake fluid is 446 degrees Fahrenheit or 230 degrees Celsius. The wet boiling point of .4 brake fluid is 311 degrees Fahrenheit or 155 degrees Celsius. The dry boiling point of .5 brake fluid is 500 degrees Fahrenheit or 260 degrees Celsius. The wet boiling point of .5 brake fluid is 356 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius. So based upon those numbers, it's pretty clear to see that brake fluid's got to get pretty daggone hot before it starts giving you a problem. So whenever you start getting this brake fade thing issue going on, what's actually going on? So not far from where I live, there's a famous stretch of a highway or hill highway, whatever you want to call it, called Mount Eagle Mountain. that particular piece of road right there, it has got a serious pitch going on with it, okay? It's got runoff ramps for 18-wheelers. For anyone pulling a heavy load, that mountain can be an issue. So let's use that Monte Eagle Mountain as an example here. Let's just say I've got my Tahoe hooked up to the trailer, and I've got one of my Jeeps up on the trailer, and I'm coming down Monte Eagle Mountain, okay? As I'm coming down, my brake pads are squeezing on the rotor, generating that heat. The brake fluid itself isn't really what's boiling, because you still get that 446 degrees before the .4 fluid starts boiling out on you. It's the water that's in your system, but that becomes a problem. Remember what I said earlier? Water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So as those brake pads are squeezing on that rotor and it's generating all that heat, you got water in your brake fluid. That water is going to start boiling before the brake fluid does. So therefore it creates air pockets inside your brake fluid, therefore giving that spongy pedal, and you'll get that brake fade as you're coming down that hill. But not only that, if you've got water in your brake fluid, there's other complications as far as maintenance of your vehicle that it affects. Having water inside your fluid, it's going to be inside your brake lines. It'll start rushing your brake lines from the inside out. Your calipers, some people are familiar with your caliper stick. You step on your brake, but the caliper won't release, and then you've got a brake dragging on the front, on the rear, wherever it may be. Well, when you get that brake drag like that, it very well could be because you've got so much water in your brake fluid that water is now starting to cause a rust film inside your caliper. It's now allowed that caliper piston to come back and forth as it should, as freely as it should. So you press on your brakes, it pushes that piston out, which pushes your brake pad, and now you've got so much corrosion inside here from the water eating at the seals and eating at the inside the brake, the piston bore right there. Now you've got a sticky caliper that won't release. So obviously it is very handy having one of these tools around. I mean, I've got my Tahoe, I've got my Jeep, I've got my 93 model Wrangler, I've got my Mustang, so yeah. Very handy to have one of these around to keep your car safe. Now, changing the brake fluid not only make your vehicle more safe, it also make it last longer. Because whenever you got water inside your brake fluid, it's also inside your lines, your proportioning valves, your calipers, your wheel cylinders, all that stuff. Water, not good because it causes corrosion. When you get corrosion, then you start getting sticky wheel cylinders, sticky calipers, the inside your brake lines start rusting out. So get that water out of your brake fluid quick. How do you do that? Change the brake fluid. So will Power Ass crew, be on the lookout for upcoming videos. How to change brake fluid in a Jeep Wrangler. How to change brake fluid in a Chevy Tahoe, which will also be the same procedure as your Dodge Rams or any of your other trucks and many other just regular cars as well. This has got the anti-lock brake system on it, so the procedure will be the same amongst about any cars now. So it still can be very very beneficial for you. I'll drop a link down below to Amazon. Whenever you guys use those links to the Amazon on any of my videos, whenever you use that link, that's an affiliate link. It costs you not a single penny more, okay? And it doesn't matter if you buy this tool here or you buy kitty litter. It doesn't matter. It gives me a little kickback that I use to run the channel with. It gives me a tiny little commission that I put toward these videos and buying products that I test for you, or parts to put my rigs together, whatever. But still, in the end, it pays for an education for you guys. My Power Ass crew, I want to tell you guys about the awesome brake fluid tester, but I also want to give you guys an education to help you out to keep your vehicles safe and make them last a lot longer and save you some money. So everyone, if you enjoyed that video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, leave me some cool comments down below. Peace. Later, y'all.